Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 917 of the Juicebox Podcast. Welcome back, everybody. This is the third in the Diabetes Myth series. Today, Jenny Smith and I are going to be talking about that old chestnut, reversing your diabetes. While you're listening today, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. Speaking of being bold, take care of your health. BetterHelp.com/Juicebox. When you get therapy at my link, you'll save 10% off your first month of therapy. BetterHelp.com/Juicebox. Speaking of saving money, how about 35% off your entire order at CozyEarth.com? Incredibly comfortable sheets, towels, and clothing. I love it all. I'm not kidding. It's incredibly soft and luxurious. I can't believe I'm using the word luxurious, but save 35% off your order at CozyEarth.com. And of course, athleticgreens.com/Juicebox, a free 5 travel packs and a year's supply of vitamin D with your first order. I asked ChatGPT to write me an ad for the Omnipod 5, and it tells me, even puts in where I'm supposed to put music. This is interesting. Here's what I'm supposed to say. This episode is brought to you by Omnipod, makers of the Omnipod 5 insulin pump. If you're living with diabetes, managing your insulin levels is a crucial part of your daily routine. That's why Omnipod has designed the Omnipod 5, a device that's transforming the way people with diabetes live their lives. Boy, this isn't bad. I'm sorry, back to the deep voice. The Omnipod 5 is a tubeless wearable insulin pump that adapts to your lifestyle. It's discreet, waterproof, and designed for ultimate comfort. The state-of-the-art pump automatically adjusts insulin delivery based on your glucose levels and trends, taking the guesswork out of diabetes management. Well, this is good. It should say when used with a Dexcom G6. Oh my gosh, safety is always a priority. It's time to experience the freedom and flexibility that comes with the Omnipod 5 insulin pump. Visit omnipod.com/Juicebox to learn more and take the first step towards a better life with diabetes. That's omnipod.com/Juicebox. Make the switch to Omnipod 5 and discover the difference for yourself. That's amazing. The machines are taking over, people. That's pretty cool, huh? Anyway, omnipod.com/Juicebox. Check out the Omnipod 5 if you want that algorithm with the Dexcom G6, or if you want the Omnipod DASH and you're not looking for the algorithm, you can get started with that as well at my link. When you use the links, you're supporting the show. Those links are available at juiceboxpodcast.com by typing them into a browser or in the show notes of the podcast player you're listening to now. Now, let me say, just write me an ad for Athletic Greens. Hold on a second. I might be onto something here. All right, everybody, we are back for the third installment of the Diabetes Myth series. I'm now artfully talking around the S at the end of the word. And Jenny has a head cold. So Jenny sounds like a waitress in a diner on a road nobody drives on. So hi. Say hey.
I do. Yes.
But she promises me that her voice doesn't hurt. So we press on for you, the good people who are waiting for the Diabetes Myth series. Today, Jenny, we are going to tackle the myth that diabetes can be reversed. So if you have type 1 and you hear this, two possible things happen. Either you get very angry because that's not true, or you're newer diagnosed and you think, oh, maybe that is true. And then you see the people who are like, could I just eat? And then that conversation starts up. The first thing I have from a listener here says they were told to, quote, just lose weight, eat healthy and exercise, and that's it. Their diabetes will be reversed. Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's kind of relative to the sugar one, right? If you just stop eating sugar or you got diabetes because you ate too much sugar or whatever. I think it starts with type 2 diabetes knowledge. Because while no diabetes is reversible, type 2, if you start out managing with certain lifestyle changes, you can, reverse is not the right word.
Mitigate?
You can bring sure, yes,
Yeah.
you can bring your numbers down to that target range that is in the range we're all aiming for, right? The range for people without diabetes. And you can successfully keep it there for a certain amount of time, potentially without any medications. That's not reversal. That's not curing your diabetes. That just really means that you're doing something to keep your numbers in a range of normal, in a range where they would be without diabetes. But if you go back to your lifestyle habits, your blood sugars will go back up and they will now be out of range again. We know that that's not the case with type 1, obviously. Is there potentially a time period where it looks like, well, goodness, my blood sugar is all nice and stable now. It's soon after diagnosis. It's that what we've talked about before called honeymoon, right? Where your needs could drastically be reduced. For some people, they may not use any basal insulin and they might use small doses of bolus. It might be the opposite where they just use a basal insulin and they don't have to take boluses for a while. That's not your diabetes reversing itself.
Yeah.
At all.
I just opened up Amazon and I typed reverse your. That's all I typed in. Apparently you can reverse your fatty liver, your diabetes, your type 2 diabetes, or your PCOS with Coach Nikki. So I think it's a marketing word.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that it's very steeped in type 2 and exactly what you just said. But how do you put context to it? I just recently, this will seem disconnected for a second, but I have become very focused on people saying like Omnipod 5 learns, or this causes diabetes, or blah, 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 can reverse. It's like right church, wrong pew kind of thinking, like you almost have it right, but you've chosen a specific word and it makes what you're saying incorrect. I understand.
Correct.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes.
I understand what you're getting at. And I just think that's, obviously, again, people don't understand, but where it becomes, potentially dangerous is when you get it into the head of somebody who has type 1 diabetes specifically.
Correct.
Because here's from another listener, I almost died in DKA. My expert father said something clearly went wrong on your end and then sent her a ton of videos about reversing diabetes.
Yes.
Well,
and there are, and it's a painful thing to see, but not too long ago, and in the past probably 15 years, I've seen several kids who were diagnosed and their parents went about it in terms of prayer, right? If I pray enough, if I do this, it will go away. And clearly that did not end well.
I've been around this space long enough that I can tell you that about every 4 years, some poor kid dies because somebody tries to cure their diabetes with religion. I've seen it over and over again. Well, here's a great example of what I was talking about marketing. This person says, I was told that type 1 diabetes might be reversible through chiropractic care. Not surprisingly, she was told this by the spouse of, anybody want to guess?
Chiropractor.
Yeah, it was a chiropractor's wife who said, you know what might get this for you? And there's a lady who's got a car payment. I respect her. She's like, go let him yank on your head a little bit, see if your pancreas starts working again. Nice idea, but not going to work. Again, I think it's the reverse thing. Like, yes, you can your body, speaking specifically about type 2 diabetes, if you start becoming pre-diabetic, your body can't keep up with the need and your blood sugars are rising. And if you cut out certain foods, you very well may see a decrease in that, right?
Yes.
Like you're taking the fight away. Like, it's right now your body is one person and pre-diabetes is 100 army men coming over the hill. And then suddenly you tell 90 of those army men not to attack you. And you're like, oh, it turns out I can fight off 10 of them. I just can't fight off 100 of them.
Right.
And so when they say reverse, they mean, stop doing the things that make your body
unable to keep up on its own.
Yeah. That I almost wanted to say that reveal the fact that your body's going to have a tough time fighting off the way you've been eating prior to this. And
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then it just gets translated over to type 1 because they don't hear type 1, they hear diabetes and
yes.
we're off to the races.
I think that's honestly where a lot of the myths that we'll go through kind of come from.
Yeah.
It's what somebody knows about one side of diabetes or what they know because they knew a friend whose mother's uncle's brother, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And it all goes back in terms of what I think is that people should just pay attention to what they're going to say before they say it.
Jennifer, I got a note today that said that I walked around all day yesterday saying, zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket. So you impacted somebody with the last episode.
Yes. That's awesome.
Just shut up if you don't know what you're talking about. Let me see this one here. Years ago, a female coworker of my husband told him that maybe her type 1, though meaning the person writing this, my type 1 would be reversed when I got pregnant because pregnancy, this is a quote, pregnancy causes crazy changes in your body.
They should go read my book and make sure that they learn correctly. Yeah, that's so sad.
But do you I hear it, like, right? You have heard pregnant women say, I never felt better than when I was pregnant. My allergies went away. Like you hear them say like stuff like that. And
correct.
Yeah.
And there are some autoimmune conditions that they don't reverse, but they take almost a hibernation, if you will. Mm-hmm. Many people who have other things like lupus or arthritis or other conditions that are definitely those autoimmune, and there are many of them, they can take a back seat while the body is pregnant.
Yeah.
And there are a whole bunch of physiologic reasons for that, obviously, but type 1 diabetes is not one of those things that gets to take a back seat.
The apples to apples comparison there is if I get cancer and I'm a woman, I should just get pregnant because that fixes
everything.
It. Yeah. Like that's,
right.
I mean, but isn't that fascinating? I mean, honestly, isn't that fascinating? By the way, the lady said she's had 4 babies, but she still has type 1 diabetes.
Yes, clearly.
Maybe the 5th one will be the trick, she said. To that I say, I think your uterus has had enough. That's a lot. I don't know how you're keeping track of 4 kids. I'm always very impressed when people can handle that many children. I don't know how they do that. Okay, so now, Jenny, the real question here is, I got to wait for this kid to leave high school every day this time. Right past my house. Now, the real question is this a nice little 15-minute episode about the fact that you can't reverse diabetes? Or do we keep going into the next thing and couple them together? So since
what's the next thing? Does it fit?
Diabetes will disappear, stabilize, or get better. But this is a longer, it's got a lot of feedback. So part of me wants to
snip it and move on.
Yeah.
With
I kind of want to make it a second one. So, okay. So before we do that, I just want to go over it one more time. I have type 2 diabetes. I drastically changed my diet. I don't know. I start exercising. I'm running up the side of mountains now with a rucksack on. I don't need any medication, and my blood sugars are healthy and stable and where my doctor wants them. Do I still have type 2 diabetes?
You still have type 2 diabetes.
That's what I thought.
It is being managed with the lifestyle changes you have put into action. That is what is that's what your medication is, if you want to think about it that way, right?
Yeah.
You are not picking up a prescription at the pharmacy, but what you're doing is you're making really awesome changes to your life. And that's what's making the difference in terms of blood sugar management, getting things into that, non-diabetic, let's call it, range. And if you reverse that, if you stop running, walking, going to the gym, eating well and choosing healthy, your diabetes is going to be like, yep, here I am again. I was just waiting.
You don't make type 2 diabetes go away. You stop.
Correct.
You stop the impacts of it from having poor health outcomes for yourself. That's it. All right. I think I understand that. Good.
Okay.
I don't know why it's interesting, but it's the word, right? Again, it's the word. You can reverse your diabetes. It's just lazy talking.
And I think their reverse it goes along with then cure. I think people think reverse and they think I'm cured. Like I'm really, that's it. I'm done. I don't ever have to worry about this again. So are you reversing having diabetes? You're bringing yourself back to a state of health where you should have probably been. And we're talking about, type 2 here, obviously. But I think reverse is such a hard word because it could be understood multiple different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the implication is that there's not a ton of effort anymore. Right. And so that's it. Because if I said, it's funny, if I said to you, you have type 2 diabetes, but you need insulin, and somehow, I don't know, you just perfected your insulin delivery, and you literally were just, your blood sugar was 96 all the time. You never got high, you never got low, and it was that way your whole life. You wouldn't say that you reversed your diabetes. You'd say you were treating your diabetes with insulin.
Yes.
Yes. So if you do it with exercise and diet, you're treating your diabetes with exercise and diet.
Yes.
I'm good. I'm stopping right there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
First and foremost, we always want to thank Jennifer. Jenny Smith is a lovely person who's also a CDE, and she works at integrateddiabetes.com. If you want to hire her, that's where you go. Let's also thank Omnipod, makers of the Omnipod 5 and the Omnipod DASH, for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast and so many others. They're a great supporter. The podcast is supported by a ton of great sponsors. You can find all of them at juiceboxpodcast.com or in the show notes of the audio app you're listening in right now. When you use those links, when you click on them or type them into a browser, you are supporting the production of this podcast. I cannot thank you enough for doing that. If you're looking for community around your diabetes, check out Juicebox Podcast Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. It's a private group with about 40,000 people in it. Actually, most of the stuff that's in the Diabetes Myth series is from the people in that group, listeners just like you. If you're enjoying the podcast, please share it with someone else who you think might also enjoy it. And please, if you're listening but not subscribed, hit the subscribe or follow button in your audio app, like Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, something like that. It really helps the show. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.